Good morning and welcome to the fourth installment of the Avoid Vaping Fast Facts Webinar. Today, Kristen Holt, President and CEO of KDH will be leading our discussion around new tobacco products. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you all know that if you missed our first 3 webinar installments, you can access a full recording of these webinars on our YouTube channel, KDH Research. I would also like to call your attention to your viewing pane, where there's a section called Questions. If you have any questions as you are listening to the webinar that you would like me to ask Kristen at the end, please type them into that section. I will be moderating those questions. And with that, I will turn it over to Kristen. Kristen, can you call in?
I am. Good morning. Hello, everybody. This is Kristen Holt. I'm the President and CEO of KDH Research and Communication, and I've been working in the field of drug prevention for almost 20 years. Vaping prevention is a particular focus of KDHRC's, and today we're going to talk about changes and things that are emerging in the marketplace, things that you may have heard of, things that you may not yet have heard of, and things to keep our eye on as we move forward working towards youth prevention overall. So we'll begin with slide 2, which just reviews vaping statistics that I'm sure everybody here is aware of. In 2018, more than 3 million middle and high school students are current users of e-cigarettes, and electronic cigarettes or vapes are the most commonly used tobacco product among both middle and high school students. On slide 3, we can see that 1 in 5 high school students and 1 in 20 middle school students are currently using e-cigarettes. And so some of you in the prevention field might be asking how we got here. This is really dramatic increases in the use of these products that occurred over a relatively short amount of time and relate entirely to a new product that wasn't on the market up until about 10 years ago. And I think we can be confident in saying that it was loopholes and regulations on flavors and on advertising that supported the grip that vapes really have on the marketplace and in the minds of youth. And so what I want to challenge you all to think about today is as regulation shifts, as the marketplace shifts, and everybody's trying to keep up with these changes, it's really smart to start thinking about what's next. What's the next big thing that can come to your community, and what can be a prevention strategy that you can have on hand that would work on some of these new products if you start seeing them among youth in your world. So slide number 5 asks the questions, how will vapes change? Well, we know the regulations are increasing. Recently, there's been local ban on vape sales. So San Francisco has banned sales of vape products entirely. Massachusetts is rolling out a 3-month ban on all sales, with bans on menthols and flavors coming in the next few weeks. We know that a good number of states have passed Tobacco 21 policies. So Hawaii, recently Maryland passed this, a few others where tobacco is only legal to purchase by those 21 and older. And we know that federal regulations and bans are rolling out and likely to increase in intensity. So the FDA currently has regulatory authority over vapes and all tobacco products. We know that a ban on flavors is likely to roll out in March of next year on the federal level. And so there's definitely regulation and policy that are keeping vapes, they're striving towards keeping vapes out of youth's hands. But as these regulations start to change, the marketplace is going to respond. So we know, as one example, that when Juul stopped selling mango-flavored pods, the whole market arose to sell e-liquids that can flavor non-flavored Juul pods. So, the marketplace is going to meet the need. Right now, the need looks to be that for flavors. And we know there's also new devices entering the market. So the FDA has basically two pathways by which they can approve new tobacco products for sale. There's the pre-market tobacco product application, which is for any product, and it's a rigorous one where a manufacturer would have to present data on the safety, the risks, the market size, all sorts of data on the product. But then the complementary process is that for a modified risk tobacco product application, which would be the kind of product that a marketer could claim is less harmful than traditional cigarettes. And so many manufacturers are pursuing goals for either of these as they try to get new markets into the marketplace. So turning to slide 6, we know that vapes started out as the large box mods or the Cigalikes they kind of changed into these modular devices, the pod systems like Juul that are popular now because of their small size and portability, their discreet nature. And new devices we're seeing in the marketplace have a lot of look-alike characteristics and added functionality. So the two that we found most interesting were the vape watch on the left and the vape Bluetooth speaker on the right. Those are fully functional watches and speakers, but they're also vaping products. So we know that there's going to be new devices that are coming out into the field. So the next set of slides, turning to slide 8, are products that you're likely familiar with. You've heard about. They're tracked in the national usage studies. But we want to highlight them because we wonder, based on our experience in the field, that some of these will start showing a resurgence and increases in use if vapes are increasingly regulated. So the first we're going to talk about is Hookah. Hookah is a shared tobacco smoking device. You can see the picture on the right. It uses charcoal to heat tobacco. It's almost always flavored tobacco, which is then filtered through water and inhaled through that long coiled pipe. And from 2011 to 2018, current use of hookah didn't really change in a meaningful way among middle and high school students. Usage rates aren't particularly high, but because it has some characteristics that vapes share, it's flavored tobacco, it's got a status to it, and it's a very social activity. We think this is one to watch, particularly because there's a few unknowns. One is that hookah smokers are exposed not only to the tobacco smoke, but also to the charcoal residue from the fuel source. And so this is a major source of toxins. We don't really know what those chemicals are or what they can do to the human body. So that's definitely a source of concern. And hookah is also very heavily bacteria laden because it's a shared device. Turning to slide 9, I'll highlight one that you may not be aware of. It's called Medwa. Medwa is actually a small smoking pipe that Hookah tobacco is smoked in. The Hookah is a type of tobacco that's mixed with aromatics to give it a very strong flavor. And it is very, very heavily nicotined. And so right now, this is a very popular tobacco product in the Middle East. It's primarily produced in the United Arab Emirates. Why are we talking about it? There's no usage rates in the U.S. right now. But we bring it to your attention because we've seen tobacco products make the movement over to the United States. So e-cigarettes started in Asia and made their way over here, greatly increased in popularity. And some of the heat not burn products we're going to talk about in a few minutes started out in Europe and are now making their way into the U.S. marketplace. So looking at other countries' tobacco products can give us some clues what might be coming next here. Again, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know that for sure, but these are just the ones to watch. Turning to slide 10, I want to talk quickly about cigars, cigarillos, and little cigars. These are tobacco products that have been around for a very long time. They're currently unregulated by the FDA. And a cigar, a cigarillo, a little cigar, all grouped that way because the wrapper is tobacco, not paper. So this is how these products differ from cigarettes. They are all tobacco products, and generally speaking, all little cigars and cigarillos are flavored. They can be sold as single stick, and the use of flavorings and the fact that they're sold as individual units in many markets make them concerning to many tobacco prevention people. We know that usage rates of little cigars, cigarillos, and cigars are higher in multicultural audiences. And so that final statistic at the bottom that shows these decreases in rates is promising for sure, but we know that subgroups, particularly African Americans and Hispanic youth, are actually showing increases. We also wonder a little bit about this one because if flavors are removed from vapes, little cigars will be one of the few remaining flavored products easily available in the market. And that's something that could be of concern. Now, in the next 2 slides, I want to just talk quickly about some devices that you may not yet have heard about. And the first one on the next slide is nicotine patches. Nicotine patches are currently being marketed. If you go to a local convenience store or a gas station, you'll see a lot of point-of-sale advertisements for these. They're new in the marketplace. I know down here in Atlanta, There's a lot of billboards up for these. And nicotine patches function much like dip or chewing tobacco in that you put it in your mouth between your cheek and gum, but they are actually tobacco leaf free. They are leaf free and spit free nicotine patches that are held in the mouth, and then the nicotine is absorbed through the mucous membrane. They are also flavored, and there's no regulations on these products. And so, no regulations, also not a lot of information on risk. They are nicotine only. And then the final device I want to talk about today is the heat not burn device, IQOS. IQOS is a Philip Morris product that had some popularity in Europe and has actually moved over into the U.S. marketplace. Here in Atlanta, where we're located, we're home to the IQOS flagship store. It's the first store in the United States that sells the IQOS product. And the IQOS is differentiated from a vape or from a cigarette in that it is a heat not burn product. So this is Philip Morris's language around it. Philip Morris claims that heating tobacco does not produce as many harmful chemicals as burning the tobacco does. And you can see in the picture that there's different components to the device. So there's the case on the left, the actual heating device, one over, the heat stick, which contains the tobacco, and then it charges. So it shares some elements with vapes, it shares some elements with traditional cigarettes. And so this is an FDA approved device. It is not approved as a less harmful device. It is only approved as a tobacco device. And right now that's retailing for around $80 to $100. It is only sold at IQOS stores. You actually have to go pick up the heat sticks, the refillable portion of this, in the IQOS store. So you can't buy it at a convenience store or in a grocery store. But Philip Morris is putting some substantial money around this device as kind of the new generation of tobacco. And on the following slide, you'll see some slides that show pictures of the IQOS store in a very upscale mall in Atlanta. The store looks a lot like an Apple store. It is very slick. It is very technology forward. And the language that the salespeople use is very much around being a trendsetter and joining the tribe of people who use this slick new device. So again, one to watch. So my final slide is really just a call to action to all of you working in the prevention field, urging you to be aware of emerging trends, paying attention to the news and what new devices are coming out. I'm really just taking a look around. What are you using? Visit convenience stores, visit vape shops, and see what products are on the market so that you can educate the youth, the parents, the policymakers in your community. So that concludes what I have to say today, and I'm happy to take some questions from the audience.
Thanks, Kristen. So for anyone in the audience, if you have a question for Kristen, you can type it into that question panel that I mentioned earlier. We do have a few already. So the first one, Kristen, is what could be accounting for the decrease in the use of cigars among high school students alongside the increase in the use of e-cigarettes over the same time period?
That's an interesting question. You know, the flavors is a big piece of both of these products, but I think the advantage, and I'm using some air quotes there, the advantage that e-cigarettes or vape use is that they're so discreet. And we hear this all the time when we talk to youth, that you can use a vape anywhere, that it doesn't leave you smelling like smoke. The smell dissipates quickly. So, vapes are much easier to use, and there's a very strong technology piece to vapes, and that it's kind of this cool little device as well. Cigars and little cigars have a different feel to them. They're, they certainly have that burning tobacco component, so the smell and the ash is a very real part of this. So they're pretty different. They do share that flavor piece though, and that's why we're keeping our eye on them.
Thank you. So moving on to a different type of tobacco product that you mentioned, the nicotine pouches. So does the absence of tobacco leaf in these pouches mean that it's safer for users than e-cigarettes?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that's a hard question because those nicotine patches are very new, so they are understudied. We know that nicotine is highly addictive and does change the brain, particularly the developing brain of youth. So the nicotine in and of itself is a concern, and we do know that the Velo pouch and these other nicotine pouches has not been approved by the FDA as a modified risk product, so they can't make any claims that it's safer than tobacco.
Okay, thanks. And this is the last question that I have, so if anyone else has any questions that they'd like to type in, please do so. But what is the FDA doing to regulate some of these new products?
So the FDA is constantly working to ensure that products are regulated, both to ensure that the products on the marketplace are safe, but also to ensure that only intended users are using them. And in this case, it really means that youth can't access these products. So there's fines, there's warnings, there's violations being reported all of the time, and the FDA is addressing those individual violations, but they're also writing new regulations and rolling them out to remove flavors from the market and continuing to warn people that there really is no safe tobacco product. So, it's an uphill battle for the FDA with new products coming out, new dangers, new risks coming out all the time. It's a daunting task for sure.
Great. Thanks, Kristen. Those are all the questions that we had. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I don't. I just want to thank everybody for joining. Please share information about our webinars with other professionals and colleagues that you might work with, and we hope to hear you back next week, where we'll be talking a little bit about some policies that relate to vaping and some of these emerging devices.
Great. Thanks, everybody.